When it comes to volume, how do you decide how to break it up for a client? Example being 4 by 6 versus 3 by 8 when both equal 24. All right, we're going to go with Sam.
So generally speaking, when someone starts out with me, we follow a very basic template just for the ground zero. Generally speaking, I start with 5 to 6 reps for the main lifts. And that could be our average RP 6 through sets, just depending on like what kind of base and fitness they have coming in. And then on the back end of the week, the supplemental lift, generally speaking, we start at 6 to 8 weeks. So at some point in time, I'm using both of those rep ranges within the week. It's very rare that I'll use both of them within the same cluster. But at some point in time, I'm doing both within the week. So generally for the comp lifts is on the lower end of the rep range, and on the supplemental lifts is on the higher end of the rep range. And that's, like I said, that's just my general basic starting point. And from there, I could adjust accordingly just based on how they're responding. But I think it's helpful to, just kind of have a basic starting point. For the person who's coming in with very little experience, they don't have much information to offer me, based on what they have been doing.
Mm-hmm. Holly.
I'm going to add to that the difference I would say is how close are we to a competition? So we're going to be working with the smaller rep ranges the closer we are to a competition. Most likely for all the lifts. I don't like to keep something like 8s in there close to a competition. I definitely would want to reduce the not necessarily the volume. I mean, some on comp lifts, yes, the volume reduces, but not necessarily on the variations. So I would be more likely to choose the 4 by 6 for a variation if we're closer out to a comp, or even reduce it to like a 3 by 6 or something like that. But as far as choosing between a 3 by 8 and a 4 by 6, yeah, it's just going to depend on how close we are to a competition for most things, or how small the lifter is. It's just a variety of reasons why I would choose one versus the other. I don't really, I'm interested to hear what y'all have to say about this.
Also, the personality of the client.
Yes.
Some people don't like doing 8s.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
They just want to do it. 6 is better. Or 8 is better.
Yeah, so it just depends on the personality of the client.
Mm.
Kelly.
I agree with all that. I think it obviously depends on the lift. And it's just looking at whether or not that lifter is responding to it. Obviously, theoretically, if you're doing 8s, you're not going to be lifting close to your max that you are with your 6s. So some lifters may respond to more submax choice in intensity, and other lifters may not. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think one thing I'll say, so again, also agree with pretty much everything else said, and definitely as the closer to our meets, we're going to do closer to like the 3 by 6 opposed to like the 8s. But at the same time, one thing I want to mention is like when I've worked with some people for like a long time, like I'm thinking of one client in my head, I've had her for like 2 years, and this is specifically for her deadlift. I have noticed that like she just gets exhausted once we like surpass like 4 reps. It doesn't matter how light we go, how like it doesn't matter. Like it's like we do sets of like 5, and it's like, yo, we gotta do 65% because she just can't do it. But like, we do 2s and 3s, and she's like killing it. And so just because I have data for her for like almost 2 years, for her, if I have to choose, let's say 4 by 2 versus 2 by 4, I can't do math. I don't even know if that makes sense, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna have her do like, especially if you're farther off from me, I might have her do like multiple sets of 2 or 3, even though we're 6 months out.
Right.
Because that's still a lot of volume, and she just doesn't do well with volume. But like, it's so different for her squat. She can squat all day. So, I think that's one thing. Just like when you start to learn a lifter, you get to like really experiment with volume with more sets versus just volume with more reps, stuff like that.
Yep.
And same thing for myself. My coach and I were talking the other day. He's had me for 2 years, and he's like, I've learned you just can't do too many reps with deadlifts. You just can't.
Yep.
You literally know.
Okay.
Like, I do 3 sets a week right now, and I'll be doing that for a long time. 3 sets, period.
Yeah, one of my 120 plus guys. His back off sets of deadlifts are 6 reps, and they're very, very sub max. And he deadlifts 350 kilos. So You wouldn't think that he would respond to that given his size with the amount of reps and how submax it is, but he does.
Yeah. That's the fun part about coaching. You get to like,
Yes.
you get like freaks like that. Like I would never think, or I'd never assume or like
Yeah.
try that first with someone like
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah. Sometimes
It
you
makes
just
it fun.
accidentally come about it as well. And when you accidentally do it, it's like, what?
It's also good when the athlete could give you that feedback.
Yeah.
To say, yeah, I don't
Yes.
think those sixes are working, or I really
Yeah.
like sixes, and you know they are helping. So you need that feedback, you know,
Yeah.
to confirm the biases.
Definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely have some clients, like, we probably all experience this. Like, you have some clients who are excellent feedback, and then you have the client who just, like, you know, they just want to lift, right? But, like, they're powerlifters, so you're like, I'm really figuring out everything by myself, and I don't
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate it.
So it's like, oh, yeah. It's like, I wish, like, everyone could just be, like, amazing at giving me the details of how they feel and their fatigue, even though I ask it in the questions, but...
You get what you
That
get.
plays a big difference. It's very true. And some people just straight up, they're very unaware of how their body feels. Like, they don't know. I can tell
True.
you right now how fatigued I am from today's session, but most people be like, what? Like, I dealt with this 6 hours ago. I'm not thinking about that. So, yeah.